flat.
A trigger that is a little light.
Time 1:48 for 3 rounds. First shot 1.08. Here it is, Wingman 2.0 with the full-size OZ9 from Zev, Trijicon SRO, their compensator, as well as the Surefire X300. Been rocking this daily, good to go.
If you're looking to pick
Good morning. Let me see if everything works. Adjust the camera for a second. We are almost there. Just need to fix my beautiful face for a second. More or less like this. And we are good to go. Okay. Perfect. Not that perfect. Okay, even if I'm a bit transparent, but it is fine. Okay. Good morning. Good morning, everyone. And let's see what we can do today. Okay, let's see. Let's see. First of all, if you have questions about last week lesson, feel free to ask them. And another simple thing is if you go and you browse the channel now, you can see that during the weekend I was able to upload all previous videos that I have already made on YouTube, and you can find all earlier lessons if you browse the content of my simple YouTube channel. So you can find from Pro Boolean lesson. There is Pro Boolean, there is the one that is for lathe and loft. All those videos are there. Just watch them if you have any doubt. Okay? Then again, if you have questions, feel free to ask them. I will keep now the chat on the screen so that everyone can see messages and I will see messages as well. And no questions? Really? So happy. Okay. So if you have no questions, today we can start by making basically second part of Edit Poly. And good morning. In Marco channel, it's only late loft, Theodoros says. Ah. Oh, sorry. I was about to say, you want me to check? So, I know that I've put everything. I know, 100%. I know. So, let's do this. First of all, don't try, like your classmate said, to correct me. Like Theodore says, it is only late and loft. That's not true. There is everything. everything that I have recorded, of course. So those lessons that we were not streaming, I mean, but there are very few, if you think, they are not there. So it is everything. You can watch it and watch it also because basically I do 3ds Max 4 times in a week. For each topic, you will find 4 videos. So basically, you find the video that is about the class on Monday 9 to 11, Monday 11 to 1, Wednesday 9 to 11, and Wednesday 11 to 1. So a nice thing that you can do is instead of watching all the times maybe your own class video, you can also watch other videos so that maybe you can see also slightly different ways, slightly different examples that I do when I explain a certain tool. So, and the thing becomes a little bit more organic in terms of learning tools that I explain. Okay, so what I was saying is today we need to make second episode of edit poly modifier. We need to add in our explanation a few more tools inside edit poly tool. Then I need to show you one modifier that works in combination in general with edit poly, and this modifier will be called TURBOSMOOTH. So let me write into the screen which are things that we have to learn today. There are, first of all, this is too thick. So inside edit poly, and as you can see, I'm writing with my mouse because I'm not able to find my pen to write on the tablet, but I will find it one day. So inside edit poly, we need to study today into edge editing mode. We need to study one tool that is called chamfer, and into polygon we need to study the one that we have skipped last week, that is bridge. Inside edge, I would like to explain something called create shape. That would be phenomenal. Okay. Then what else? We have to see bridge. Then I want to show you other two elements that you can select when you use edit poly. There are those that are called borders and elements, just to show you that sometimes they are useful, but I want also to show you a modifier that is extremely important, that is called turbo smooth. Exactly. This is what we have to learn today. Also because, so I will tell you just at the beginning so that if you want, you can start freaking out. Also because next week, Monday, you will have your own phenomenal midterm exam. And I want to explain it today how it works so that next week you will know exactly you know exactly what you have to do. That would be very simple. So uh, midterm exam will basically work like exercises that we are doing for this week. Basically, I will give you several pictures, so a folder full of pictures of objects. And what you have to do will be you have to make a 3D model of your choice from the folder that I will give you. And technically, the midterm exam should be for 2 hours, but because I'm extremely good for in this wireless streaming situation, I will give you 24 hours to complete the midterm. So basically, what I will do will be this. I will give you the folder with objects next week, Monday at 9. And I will create a specific folder where you have to upload your final midterm exam, but this folder will live basically will live for 24 hours only. Basically, Tuesday at 9, I will simply close that Google Drive folder so that no one else can upload midterm exams if you were late. Okay? This is how the midterm will work. During the midterm, even if I want basically stream any particular content, so I will just leave the link to the folder, so you will see things. But during those 2 hours, so Monday from 9 to 11, I will be behind the camera. So you will see me. I will say hi and bye and so on. I will explain things just to start the midterm. Then I will simply leave a continuous screen going on, but the chat will continue at least for the 2 hours that you are like in your class. So in those 2 hours, if you have questions for the midterm, I will answer them, and I can show things into the screen in real time. So my suggestion is to try to do the midterm while you technically have class, so that you will have me helping you in real time. Okay? Is that clear? Can we move on to the 2 days class? Wait for a sign into the chat. Oh, no. Yes. Uh, Last time we said we're gonna learn a modifier called cut. Yes. Why not? Let's put cut in 2 days menu. And I place it here because this doesn't require any particular selection first. So let's use cut. Why not? Okay. And you know what? If we have time, only if we have time, let's see also attach. But if we have time, I don't know. So this will be 2-day menu. And let's start with this edge um, edge tools that are called chamfer and create shape. Look. So, first of all, let me create an object. And as we did last week, I will click on default shading and I click edged faces so that I can see exactly where edges of my objects are. Now I apply edit poly. That is here. Edit poly. Perfect. So now let's see this first tool that is into edge selection, and the tool is called chamfer. So see how it works. First of all, I select edge and I select at least one edge or even more than one at the same time. Let's start with one. So now, if I scroll my menu a little bit, I can find in this position here, I can find the tool that is called chamfer. But exactly as we have already explained last week, when I select a tool, I don't click the button that has the name, but I click settings next to it. So I click settings next to chamfer, and this is the menu that I get. Into chamfer, there are two extremely important parameters, just two of them, that are this parameter here that has a distance, and second parameter that is number of segments. But first of all, let me show you what chamfer does. That is, basically, chamfer starts by cutting your selected edge, and basically it removes sharp corners in between faces of your solid object. And first value that you find extremely useful into chamfer parameters basically sets how far your split edges must go. Okay? You can adjust this parameter as many times that you want. Okay? This is what chamfer does by default. I mean, it simply cuts these selected edge and it removes that 90 degrees angle in between faces. And if I click OK, I mean, this is the result. So, starting from that 90 degrees corner, now I have added this small piece in order to have a transition between top and side face. But this is not enough. This is not the only thing that chamfer does, and this is also the reason why I said that there are two useful parameters. One is the distance, but second one instead is a parameter called segments, because look, if I select, let's say, these three edges at the same time, but not because there must be three, but just because I want to show you that you can apply chamfer not to one selected edge at time, but to multiple edges also. So look, I click settings next to chamfer, and as I was saying, look, this parameter, the one that has units, is the one that sets the distance in between your split edges. But what you may notice is that, let me highlight these, you may see that in between your edges right now there is one segment only. And the reason why this is one is that because this number is 1. But look, if I increase number of segments inside chamfer, what I do is I subdivide basically these face, and if I increase these, let's say not over 4 in general, because after 4 this becomes completely unuseful. But if I increase number of segments and at least I set it to 4, when I click OK, I will discover that chamfer not only is useful to make straight, flat cuts in between my edges, but if I increase segments, chamfer will create rounded transitions where in between my angled faces. Okay? So basically what chamfer does is just this. If you have one corner like this and another corner like this, if you use chamfer with one segment, your object becomes like this, so with a straight cut. But if you use chamfer and you use, let's say, 4, but no, I mean 4, it's okay, maximum 6 edges, but don't go over that. If you increase segments, instead you make a round transition in between your angled faces. Okay? Is that clear? Let's see. See if it is clear. I don't see anyone into the chat, so it should be clear. Perfect. Oh, finally. Also, I mean, just as a technical information, you can actually see the time that passes between when you write even a message into the chat and when it appears on the chat. Just to understand that when I look like I'm stuck, I'm just waiting for this delay in order to see your chat messages. And let's move on to my next tool that, if you remember, is the tool that is still into edge editing mode, and I said this is called create shape. That is this tool here. Again, you can see that next to create shape there is settings, so I will click settings next to create shape, and at the very beginning this tool will look a little bit weird, and but let me show you what it does. That is pretty interesting. Basically what happens when you use create shape is this. Look, let's say I select a bunch of my edges. And as you can see, I've selected randomly some edges of my object. So what I do next is I have to click Settings next to Create Shape. In here, the only adjustment that I have to do before clicking OK is nothing else than clicking linear, and then I can click OK. At the very first look, it looks like we haven't done anything, and our object looks like it was before. But first thing that we can notice as a difference is that in our browser there is a new object appearing that is called shape1. So let's discover what we have really done by clicking create shape. Look, if now I close edge and I just, I don't know, move or hide my 3D object, see what I have done by clicking create shape. Look, I'm just hiding the box. This is what I have done when I have clicked create shape. So technically I have created an editable spline as a copy of my selected edges. So I have this shape, that basically it is a copy of my edges. And as because it is a shape, I can start using it with all tools that we have already studied about editable spline. I can fill it, weld it, make it renderable, and so on and so on. Look, we can make renderable, and we will create this kind of three-dimensional shape. Okay? Then I will show you another, oops, not this one, this one. Then I will show you another example. But this is what, first of all, create shape does. It basically creates a copy of my selected edges, and the copy that you create is an editable spline. Okay? Do you want to see an example that will blow your mind? No, two examples that I have in mind. Are you ready? Because they will leave you speechless. So, let me show you two examples of using create shape. That would be phenomenal. I just need to delete this box just to make a new one. Ready, steady, go. Sorry, let me read the message. When you say copy, does that mean when we edit shape 1 this is not exactly? Exactly, we create a copy of our edges, and also they are two different objects because we have an editable poly as starting element and we create an editable spline. So if you select than the editable spline or the editable poly, they won't affect each other. So let me show you these two examples that, I mean, they are just too cool to be true. Look, example 1. I make a box, okay? Then I apply edit poly, okay? I select edges, but, and see this because this will be phenomenal. See what I do in my box. First, I select this horizontal top edge, and with Control, I select this lower edge, just these two, okay? Top and bottom front horizontal edges. Then I will use, before using create shape, I will use the tool, just to repeat also, that we've seen 3 seconds ago, that is called chamfer. So look, I click chamfer, and I increase number of segments, let's say up to 4, and maybe I just make it a little bit bigger. Let's say I write not 10, 8, so that I remember the value that I'm using, and I click OK. So I've selected top horizontal, bottom horizontal. Just to repeat the process, look, I select this vertical edge, so not the front, but back vertical edges left and right. And I will use again chamfer, and I will use it with same exact values. So it was 8 as distance, 4 as segments, and I click OK. And I have this particular box that has 2 front, 2 back rounded edges. Front are horizontal, back are vertical rounded edges. Okay? Ready for this? Look, now I select these edges, and or I use a little bit of patience, that would be better. And if you see, I'm selecting all continuous edges. Let's see if I'm missing something. Remember, I'm using Control key to add edges to my selection. And I am where I've started. Okay? So look, I have selected only those particular edges. Now I can click the button that is called Create Shape. I have to click always linear, remember, because if not, it would be a squiggly line. I click OK, and I have created this new object called shape1. And see which object I have created in this way, because if I close Edit Poly and I hide the box, just to see. Look what we have. Poof! This is the shape that we have created, and as you may see, this is just another way to create the frame for the chair that we have done in homework 4, I guess. Okay? But we have created this by basically duplicating edges of our box. Okay? Let me see your questions. Okay, yes. Okay, no. Okay, something. Maybe. And then I have another example. Don't worry. Very nice. So, let's see this next example. That would be, I mean, unreal. But look. Just to show you this particular technique. I make another box and I apply edit poly and I will use also a tool that again we have seen last week that is called connect to add more segments, so just that we can repeat things. But see what I do before. Look, first I select top polygon and I just scale it so that it becomes slightly bigger. Then I can select edge and I can move. So I use move. I move this edge up so that this is more or less my shape, and select polygon, select this front polygon, and I just scale it to make it a little bit narrower. This is my starting shape. Okay? So what I will do now will be I use connect, and we have seen last week that connect is the tool that we have to use to create more edges. So I will select first all these vertical edges like these, and I will use connect to prepare my shape. So I click connect. I don't need just one additional edge. At least I will click 3. It's okay. Yes, 3. At least 3 new edges that are connecting my vertical selection, and I can click OK. What I do next is I just repeat the process by selecting all other edges. So now I select all these horizontal edges and I click connect. Maybe 3, maybe more. let's say 5, it's okay, 6. And I have almost done. Now I select all these edges, and if I want with Alt key, I can deselect the top. That would be easier because I don't need them. So I control. So I keep only this selected. I click connect and I click OK. Ready for this? Because, I mean, try to stay seated in a comfortable chair because this would be probably a little bit strong. But now I will select all my edges. That is faster. And with Alt key pressed, I deselect only these top edges. So as you can see, I'm selecting front, right, left, bottom, and back edges, just not top edges. But with all these edges selected, I can click settings next to create shape, linear, okay, boom. And if I hide my box just to see what we have done, you will discover that in this way you have created your shopping chart. And if you add wheels and an handle here, you can go to the supermarket to buy stuff. Okay? But we have done this complex kind of reticular structure by using the tool that is called Create Shape. Okay? Yes? No? Maybe? Let me check. Let me see. Fantastic. It looks like the answer should be yes. Let me see. Let me see. Because now we can study perfect. So that now we can study bridge into. Thank you so much for your feedback. But now we have to study bridge inside polygons, then cut, and then I will show you a few more things like attach also, and when we have to select borders or elements, and turbo smooth. So let's delete all these things and let's see bridge first. So bridge is a box, always a box. No, let's make a sphere. Why not? Look, I also make less polygons to have less distractions. Very nice. So see what bridge does. I apply Edit Poly. And last week we have seen a tool that is called Extrude. So I can select polygon, and let's say I can select this polygon here, but I want at the same time to extrude two polygons. So I will select this and this. And I prepare my object by using extrude. And again, I always click settings next to the tool that I need. So I extrude these polygons like this, and I click OK. Then I extrude them again, and I click OK. So see what I have here. I can, let's say, move them up just a little bit. They look like horns, but they are not. But see what I want to do here. Now I have this polygon that, and its face is looking like that. And I have also this polygon on the opposite side, and its face is looking here. What I can do is, by using a simple tool that is called bridge, I can basically select both polygons, and I can start basically by creating the gap that is in between them. So what I can do is I select these two polygons first, then I will click bridge, but again I click settings next to bridge, like all other tools into the edit poly modifier, and this is what bridge creates. So basically I have this face, I have this face, and bridge creates the connection in between my selected faces. Okay? I want to show you that you have to select um, settings next to bridge, because can you see how many properties bridge has? They are not always extremely useful, but at least there is one tool that one parameter of this tool that you have to know. That is this one here. That is segments. And why? Simply because, look, you may notice that my bridge has one long segment between my selected faces. But if I want, without using later on connect, I can immediately have a bridge with more segments, and this is pretty useful because then I can click OK. And by having these additional segments created from the beginning, now I can select, let's say, no, polygons. I will select only these polygons, so those that are in the middle of my bridge, and I will move them up so that I can make my bridge with a more interesting shape. Okay? And while I'm drawing this weird thing, I have noticed that this looks a lot. Let's see if I find a real object. Uh, it looks like this object here. How it is called? Not this one. Uh, it looks like a tool to make exercises. Oh, exactly. This one, kettlebell. This one to make exercises. Okay? Can you see this sphere with this handle here? This is a rough version of our object. And also, because I had this brilliant real-time idea, I want delete this particular object. I will keep it for later when I'm going to show you the tool that is called TurboSmooth. So I won't delete it, but I will just hide it because before moving on, I want to show you another example of using bridge. If not, it would be just one example is not enough. But let me show you another example of using bridge. Look, and this again, you must be really prepared because this would be unbelievable. But see this. We have made a homework where we have imported AutoCAD drawings, then used extrude to make a walls from a drawing. But when we import a drawing, what we have is basically something like this. And most important is now these are two independent splines, but when we when we import a drawing from AutoCAD, our drawing is one object only. So I will select one of my splines, and before using extrude, I will attach my splines because I want them to act and to be one object only. Perfect. So now I use extrude so that from splines they become a 3D object. So this is also same thing that happens when you import a drawing from AutoCAD and you use extrude. And look at my issue here. That is, I want to fix door and window in this side. Okay? So I will make a quick sketch just to let you understand what I want to do. I don't, wait. Someone says, I don't think we have done that homework. How do you trace a DWG? I don't think. Let me check this. Go to Marco, 3D Studio 1. homework 3 for interior. It was, I gave you a floor plan and or not, or you have made, sorry. Have we seen how to, we didn't do it. Oh, how sad is that? But who cares? I mean, it's okay. It's okay. Chill. This is just an example. I was saying it is like using like using AutoCAD drawings. So if we haven't done, just cut the part where I say it is like using AutoCAD and just extrude, draw 2 lines, attach them and extrude them. I mean, it's not that hard. Also, if we haven't seen how to use AutoCAD drawings, one day, maybe let me see. Okay, maybe the week after the midterm. No, okay, one day I will show you how to do it. That is not that really important, so no worries. But what I wanted to show you is just a common way to use bridge. That is, if you have situations like this, so you can apply edit poly, you use edges, select this and this and this, so that we have all vertical edges selected, and I apply first the tool that is called connect, so that I create this subdivision before, and I click OK. In this way, I have not only created these edges, but when I create edges, I basically split polygons. So if I select polygon, I can select this, control this. Okay? And I can apply bridge to make this looking like a door. And if this is too low, I select the polygon and I just move it up. Okay? If instead I want to make something that looks like a window, I follow same exact process, but what I do is when I use connect and I select this vertical edges, control this vertical edges, when I use connect, instead of using one new edge, I make 2 new edges, so that I get these 2 new edges, and I have split my polygons in 3 parts. So I click OK. And now I can select polygons. I select top control bottom, control top, bottom. So I have these 4 facing polygons. I click bridge, and this is what I create. So I basically create those missing parts between my facing polygons. Okay? Is it fine, or you want to see another example of using bridge? Let me know. And then in the meantime, I also move up or down these polygons. So, you want to see another example, or this is fine? Good. It's good for what? It's good to see another one, or it's good to move on? Let's see. Move on. Perfect. So, now I need to show you last 2 simple things inside Edit Poly. One is called cut. That is basically something that works like this. Look. We can delete this house. Yes. But check this. Let's say I have this box. And whenever I need to use new edges, new vertices that are along my edges, till now I have used the simple tool that is called connect. But connect has one limit, that is, each time that I use connect, let's say I select this and this edge, and when I create a new edge with connect, connect creates this one. This is what connect does. Sometimes this is not what I want to create, and I will give you a homework today that would be a little bit complex, so don't freak out, but it will be amazing, and you will have to use also cut. But for example, sometimes in our geometry we need to create a edge that is like this. So that we have this angled edge and not just horizontal or vertical. Or later on, we may need to cut our object from here to here and then here, so that that face that was a perfect square before, then it has one vertex into the center, and we can just pull or push this vertex and just giving like a pyramid shape in that particular face. So, but how can we create this new edges? This is why we need to use cut. Cut, so look, we need to first apply edit poly. And this is our first step. Once that we have applied edit poly, it doesn't matter if we are using any particular selection, but if we have applied edit poly, and then we just right click on our edit poly object, in the menu that appears when we right click, we find this option up here that is called cut. Okay? And how it works is very simple. We click here. Then, once that we have clicked cut, what happens is we can see that our mouse acquires a completely different shape when it is inside all over our object. So what we can do is this: when our cursor has this particular shape, so a large square, this means that we are cutting from somewhere along a polygon. If we move our mouse over an existing edge, our mouse acquires a edge shape, so it means that our cut is starting from an edge. And if we move our mouse on existing vertex, our cursor becomes a small cross. That means that our cut is starting from that vertex, even if we have not selected any snap. So what happens now that I'm using cut is I left click, let's say, on the vertex, so left and release. I move my mouse and I see this dashed line appearing, and I can, let's say, click on this opposite edge. Boom. And I left click. And I have created this angled new edge. Cut is still working, so if I keep moving my mouse and I keep clicking, I will see that I can still use cut. To break cut, I have to use right button. So I can keep clicking. Then when I want to stop this continuous cut, I press once right button. And I can start a new cut. And I can also click in the middle of my polygon. When I want to break this cut, I press once right button. When I want to really close in general cut tool, I just press right button again. And now my cut option has been turned off, and I have created these completely free-form polygons in my geometry. And why I may want to do this? Simply because now this is how my geometry is subdivided. And if I select, let's say, my polygon, look, now this is a polygon, this is another polygon, or I can change these vertex. And I can make my object, my face, pointy. Or I can select this polygon and maybe I can use extrude settings next to extrude, just to extrude that small part inside, outside, wherever I need. Okay? This is what cut does. It can be also used in combination with snaps, because if I want to be more precise, I can also use snap. I can right click. For example, vertex, I don't need it. I want midpoint. And I can right click, use cut, and I will be able to cut from midpoint to midpoint with, and now this is not more a midpoint, but this is a vertex. And now I have created that particularly precise geometry, and I can keep doing it. Look, I turn on snap again, and I'm using midpoint, so I right click, cut, and snap, and I can make from midpoint, and then midpoint, midpoint, midpoint. This is not more a midpoint, but this is a vertex, so I turn off the snap and I use the vertex, and I can keep doing these in order to have then all of these smaller polygons. So I have these, I have these, I have these, and this is what cut is about. For example, I can select now all of these polygons. Last week we have seen inset, so I can click settings next to inset, inset by polygon, and I will do this. Then I can click extrude, and I can have this additional detail to my phenomenal box. Okay? But basically, cut is simply a tool that allows you to create free form edges exactly where you need them. I will make one last example. That would be this. Look. Do you remember last week, or I mean, probably, we have seen last week that by using connect, by using inset, and by using extrude, we have made a very simple bookshelf. So look instead this bookshelf. If you want to show up and to tell people that you are a designer, look, you make a box, you apply edit poly, and you right click on your edit poly object and you click cut, and you start in this front face, you start by cutting these beautiful objects randomly by trying to find an interesting pattern. I mean, maybe something that looks like this. Okay? So what to do next is you turn these into a designer bookshelf by selecting your polygons, and I select, next time I have to do less cutting operations, but it's okay. So I select only these cut polygons. I click inset, so same thing that we have done last week with the bookshelf. I make inset by polygon. I just inset a little bit all my polygons. So next I click OK. Now I click extrude, but this time, instead of extruding with a positive value, I will extrude with a negative value so that these polygons will be pushed inside. And let me delete this. I don't know. Oops. Why? Yes, I extrude these polygons like this. Fantastic. And I have my phenomenal designer bookshelf with all these crazy angled elements instead of that classic boring bookshelf. Okay? Is that clear? What cut is about? I hope yes. Let me check the chat. Let me see. Very nice. Thank you. Thank you. So, perfect. It is clear instead of clear. Phenomenal. Anyway, let's see. Last two quick things about edit poly. There are when to use border, because look, you may see that if I select border and I try to select, there is nothing to select. Border in reality is something that appears if in your edit poly there are missing polygons. So if you try to use it and it doesn't work, it is a good sign. That means that in your object there are no holes. But look, if by mistake I select a polygon and by mistake I click delete from the keyboard, now in this polygon there is a hole, and you can see that this polygon is hollow up here. Okay? So when I click border, what border is look, in one click it selects the entire loop that is the hole that I have in my editable poly. And why I need to select a border? Simply because if you by mistake you have a hole in your edit poly, the only way to fix it, so to close it again, will be you click border and there is a button, and as you may see it has no settings, so you just click the border and you click this big button that is called cap, and boom, and you will fix your edit poly object by closing that hole that you may have created by mistake. And believe it or not, this is the only reason why you may want to use borders. That is just to fix if you have holes in your 3D object. Okay? Really, there is no other useful reason why you may need to select borders. Last way instead is called element. What element does is, in one click, it selects the entire geometry. Okay? This is useful only if your edit poly is made by attached shapes. So, what it means is this. Look, right now, this is one editable poly. This is another editable poly. They have two different names. They have nothing in common. And for this reason, I can't use them together. But if I want, I can select an editable poly. I can click attach, and I can attach these two editable polys. And now they have become one object only. But if I want inside this editable poly that is made by two pieces, if I want to quickly select this part or this part that they are not touching each other, I can select element and I will select or this in one click or this in one click. And again, believe it or not, this is the only reason why you may want to use element selection mode, for no other reasons. Okay? But at least now you have a overall understanding of things that we can do with edit poly. And I want to show you last thing for today, and we have time enough. There is a modifier called TurboSmooth. Modifier that is called TurboSmooth is a modifier that will turn your sharp objects into smooth, rounded elements. And it is in general a modifier that is always used after edit poly, but not only. In general, it can be used no matter which 3D object you select. So let me show you first what it does, and then we will start to try understanding how can we control the TurboSmooth modifier. But first of all, let me show you this. I create a box and I apply, here, edit poly. Then I start by extruding, just to mess a little bit my object. I extrude a few polygons. Okay. Exactly. Nothing crazy. Something that is just like that. Okay? And, sorry, for no reasons, just because I like it, let me also extrude this part. Exactly. Simply because it looks more symmetrical. I mean, but for no real reasons. But see this. As you can see, this object is pretty sharp. And what happens if I apply this magic modifier that is called TurboSmooth? Look, because this would be believable. Look, I look for a modifier called TurboSmooth that is here. I apply it. At the very beginning, my object becomes like this. That it looks like a ginger, the thing that you can buy at the supermarket. TurboSmooth has this main parameter that is called iteration. Iteration is a parameter that must, not should, but it must be always set to 3. Not more, not less. So I change iteration to 3. Boom! And this is how my object has been modified. This is what TurboSmooth does. So it basically smooth all those faces where there is an angle in between, and it rounds them in order to make an organic shape. Okay? Till here? Let me see. Because I need to show you one more thing about TurboSmooth. That is this. If you notice, perfect, thank you for the feedback in the meantime. But if you notice, look, my shape was unbelievably sharp. And now instead, all my sharp angled faces, now they are all beautifully round. Okay? So, let me see the chat. Yes, Claire, fantastic. So, see this. Technically, we have a very interesting way to control the smoothness and roundness of TurboSmooth modifier. There is this. Look, if I make an object and this object has large faces with an angle in between, large faces are translated into heavily smoothed results. So look, if I make this box, I don't even apply edit poly, I just apply TurboSmooth, but this has 1 polygon per face. If I apply TurboSmooth to these big sized polygons, look, my box will be turned into a ball. So large faces equal to heavily smoothed results. But if I do this, I make a box, and before using TurboSmooth, look, I apply edit poly, I apply a useful modifier that we have seen right now, that is chamfer, And see what I do. I select all my edges, then I apply chamfer, and I just break the continuity between this top face and this side face. So in between these two big surfaces, I add these smaller surfaces here. So now I have not more big polygons. I have big and smaller polygons. And with Turbo Smooth, smaller polygons means smaller curves. So see the completely different result if I apply Turbo Smooth to this box now. It won't be turned into a ball, but it will be like this. So it will have this gentle curve and it will become round only in those, and also with a smaller curve, only in those smaller faces. Okay? This is what Turbo Smooth does, and now to control it. So the reason why I also left in my file this object here is that, again, because this looks like these kind of elements, no? But let's see what happens now if we select this object and we apply Turbo Smooth. So I select my edit poly, I apply Turbo Smooth, I set iterations to 3, and this is my beautiful final result. Okay? So it has started as a sharp looking object, but then once that we apply Turbo Smooth, it has a more realistic shape. In here we have we don't need many additional polygons, but just to show you one last example, see this. Just to be 100% sure that you get what Turbo Smooth does, I will make an edit poly. So I make a box, I apply edit poly, then I will make a copy with one small difference. Look, see this. I use inset here, and I extrude this. So again, till now, nothing crazy. I have just used a box, inset, extrude. But see what I will do now. I use shift and move, and I make a copy, not an instance, a copy, because only in one of my edit poly, only here, in this low part, I want to select these 4 edges, and I want to use chamfer just to add this very small detail. Okay? So if you are not paying attention, if you are just viewing these two shapes, they look like exactly the same, while they are not. There is that small, tiny detail there, and wait. Let's add a few more details. So I will select also this top and these lower elements, just to add again a very tiny little chamfer, even smaller than before, something that is barely visible. Okay? So again, if you are not 100% warned about what I'm doing, they look like exactly same objects. But see the very big difference if I apply Turbo Smooth to this and I set iteration to 3. It becomes this kind of bell-shaped object. But if I apply same modifier with also same exact values, so I apply Turbo Smooth to this, and then I set iteration to 3, you will notice that two objects that were pretty similar, just by having a few smaller details, in combination with Turbo Smooth, they will look completely different. Okay? And unfortunately, you need a little bit of extra practice to start understanding how and where you have to put your new edges. So this is a technique that requires just a little bit of practicing in order to obtain 100% precise results. If you, or let's say, if this was clear, I want to show you this beautiful idea that came to my mind as next homework so that you will be also prepared for next week midterm exam. So are you ready to see your next homework or not? In the meantime, I will see what I have into the drive in real time with you. So 3D Studio 1, homework 7. There is already some. No, no. It's not this one. This one, homework 7 for interior. No. Let's rename these homework 8 interior and rename these. I will make homework 7. That would be fantastic. In real time, born ready. See this. Let's see if it exists. It is called, let's see. Exactly. This vector. This is how this object is called. Ooh, fantastic. And I will just put as many pictures as I can find about this headphone. That will be very simple. as a homework. Lovely. So this is your save target, save picture, and this would be homework 7. So this is your next homework. You can also find more pictures of this object because it is a little bit old, but it was a real product called Vector Headphone. Very nice. So, without any tutorial, without save picture, you can try by creating this 3D model. Okay. And in 1 second, all those pictures perfect. So in 1 second, all these pictures will be uploaded. Boom, they are into the folder that is called homework 7. You want the hinge also. I mean, which is the hinge? Let me see. No. This detail, not. I mean, I'm not that bad. No. The hinge here. No, let's make it like it was a rigid object. Okay. But for example, you can easily understand that this part can be done with one edit poly. You can also do just half of it, then mirror it at the end. No, you should do just half of it. But here, where you have here pads, these are two different objects. One is an edit poly, where you can use cut just to make all these details. This will be another edit poly where you will apply TURBOSMOOTH to make it perfectly rounded and smoothed. Okay? This is the only suggestion that I can give to you. Okay? Then maybe during the midterm, if you have no questions or if you are interested, instead of while you are doing the midterm trying to do it, I can also try to design in real time this headphone if you were not able to do it. Okay? Is it clear? Let's see what is perfect. So be prepared for next week midterm exam. Have a lot of fun. Try to do your best to model something that looks as close as possible to this headphone. Okay? And we will see next week. Okay? Bye, everyone. It has been a pleasure. Also, let's see if this works. this button. Let me check. No, it doesn't work. Woohoo! It works. I have set a macro button with the phone so that I can immediately write messages. Perfect. Bye, everyone. See you next week.